In this EdTPA video, the student teacher is trying to teach her students how to infer a text.
Alright, okay, so before I begin, what should I do when I want to make an inference? What should I do when I want to make an inference?
It's important to note that she asks the question twice, and then she also allows some time for other students to raise their hand, giving them a moment to collect their thoughts.
Been talking about inferencing for these past few days here, so see what we can remember. Aiden? Aiden, please. Oh, you're close. He said he started his sentence with con.
Two things that the student teacher does here: she validates his response, and although it is not correct, she still basically repeats it and gives the other students an opportunity to refine his answer.
Alright, Anisha, can you help him out? Oh, looking at key details, yep. Okay. Andrew? Making a conclusion, okay? So, and did you have something to add, Elena? Yes, pointing out big things, yes. Okay, so
Two things to note here is that she calls every student out by name, and also Elena is the last person with her hands up, and she still gives her the opportunity to say her response.
said key details, and Aiden and Andrew said making conclusions, okay? So those are the two things that we've been focusing on. You know, you want to look into, when we look at those pictures, you want to look into what details make this picture stand out. What details tell me what's going on about this picture? And then with that, you make a conclusion about what the picture was about. Well, today we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to be inferring now with actual reading.
She references the lessons that they learned in the previous class, and she's basically incorporating it in this one, giving them an example of basically what inference is from what they've done in the past.
Inferring with text. Alright, so let's look up here. So inferring involves reading between the lines. Who can tell me what reading between the lines means? You guys remember what reading between the lines means, or what that phrase is? Go ahead and take a guess too. If you think you know or you've heard of it. What do you think it means? Sammy? Okay, so you're finding key.
It is important to note here that she chooses the student whose hand was up, and she doesn't pick a student whose hand was not up. The student whose hand was up was more eager and willing to answer the question.
Yep. So it's along the lines of inferring, okay? Because inferring, the idea is we're reading between the lines. Page. Ooh. Alright, maybe. So looking at the text and saying, what does this mean, or what's the next thing going to be about? Anisha? Yep, so that's a part of making key details. So reading between the lines, okay, this is what it means. It's pretty much being able to read something, pull out those details and those clues to make a conclusion or to decide what the author not necessarily is stating. So
she gets into this habit of asking a question, picking a student, validating their response, and also refining their response, which is very important to notice.
Yesterday, when we had the three people come up here and make an action, and I asked you guys, why do you guys think they chose that action? And some of you guys were like, maybe because Lois is gonna go and, or at least maybe he's upset or something. What else did we say? We said maybe Lois is, oh yeah.
So here she uses another example from the lesson from yesterday, and this is a personal example that they can mentally recall to better answer and also understand how to infer a text later on in the lesson.
He's skiing because he had his arms like this. So reading between the lines is kind of saying, oh, I wonder why he's doing that. Or when you read a book, you're going to say, the author didn't tell me that this is happening. This is what I'm going to infer. Based on the clues that the author gives me, I'm going to say, maybe this is happening. I'm going to infer that this is going on, okay? So that's what reading in between the lines means. Today, our goal is going to transition from those photos and transition inferring those photos to inferring about the text we read. So yesterday, we did something really similar to this, okay? So yesterday we did what I see plus what I know equals I infer.
Here, she's using the same formula from yesterday, and this is important because they're familiar with this formula, so knowing how to infer pictures with using that formula, they will be able to know how to infer text as well with this one.
But instead of what I see, we're going to do what I read plus what I know equals I infer, all right? And I know that on the first day, a few days ago, we kind of did some pictures picking out details, and we also did a paragraph. We're going to do that today with just with the paragraphs. So, I'm going to show you guys some examples. We're going to be using these texts to make inferences. The author is not necessarily telling us what's going on, so we're going to make inferences about what's happening, or maybe what happened to the character. All right, give me a thumbs up if you understand. Give me a thumbs down if it's still kind of fuzzy for you.
It's important that in the middle of her lesson, she takes the time to get an understanding of what the students are getting and if they understand the lesson before she decides to proceed.
All right. I see some maybes. I see some thumbs up, some thumbs down. That's okay. If you have a thumbs down, hopefully when I show you guys how to do some inferring with paragraphs, when I show you guys how I'm going to infer with the paragraphs, hopefully you guys will be able to do that too, okay, later today. So, let's look at this, okay? I have this little prompt down here. So that's just to help me remind myself, okay, what am I looking for? So here is a paragraph. I'm going to read it. It says, Turner almost wished that he hadn't listened to the radio. He went to the closet and grabbed his umbrella. He would feel silly carrying it to the bus stop on such a sunny morning. So what do I read? I'm going to circle some key details. So what I saw was he listened to the radio. Okay. He grabbed his umbrella. Okay. And he felt silly carrying it to the bus stop. And it's a sunny morning. Okay. So
it's important to note two things. One, the first example she does on her own, lead by example, is what she's trying to establish here. And also how while she's at the board, all of the students are engaged and paying attention and are focused on what she's focusing and what she's doing.
Those are the key details that I circled because that's what I'm getting from this paragraph. That's the main idea that I'm getting. Those are the main points that I see from the paragraph. Now I'm going to look at what do I know about these things, about what just happened. Well, he listened to the radio and he's going to go grab his umbrella and he feels silly carrying it around on this sunny morning. Based on what?
Here, the camera angle goes exactly and directly to her, mainly because she's the one speaking the most right now, explaining her decision and explaining her inference.
No. Okay, when I'm going to go and grab my umbrella, after I listen to the radio, sometimes the radio gives you a news forecast. I'm going to go and grab my umbrella after I've listened to the news forecast. That probably means that it's going to rain later. Maybe it's not raining right now because it's sunny, but it's probably going to rain later, so I have to carry that with me.
It's important to note that this is the second time that she reprimands a student who's misbehaving, and she does it in a very calm manner, in a respectable manner. She's not rude or mean or harsh to the student.
So I'm going to I infer that it's probably going to rain later, and that's why he grabbed his umbrella. So I infer that it's going to rain later, and that's why he grabbed his umbrella. Let's try another one. All right, same idea. We've got the passage here. I've got my little guide at the bottom to help me. It says, James went to the park to ride his bike. He fell off his bike and hurt himself. Immediately, he was sent to the hospital. When he was released, he went home with a cast on his arm. What kind of key details can I pick from this passage? What kind of key details can I pick from this passage?
Again, we see that she's waiting for other students to kind of collect their thoughts and figure out what their answer is.
He's got a cast on his arm. What else can I pick out from this paragraph? Key details. Timmer. Hospital. He went to the hospital. Let me take one more. Zachary H. He had his bike with him.
Two things to note. Whenever the class is coming together, the camera angle shows the entire class as well as the student. Also, for this example, she engages the students and she has them tell her what the key details is instead of her doing this example on her own as well.
All right. So those are some really good key details that we drew out from this. So he fell off his bike, he went to the hospital, and came out with a cast on his arm. What we read was that stuff. Now we want to add it to what do we know about that? What do we know about these things that I underlined? What do we know? What do I know? What do you know about things that we have just underlined? Because it doesn't necessarily tell us what exactly happened. It just gives us some hints and some clues. Elena? Okay, so that's what you know, or is that what you infer? Okay, so what about what do you know? What led you to that?
Here she's taking the student's response and she's trying to basically refine the answer. However, she is not trying to refine it. She's trying to get the student to do so.
Okay, so Elena said she's going to infer that he probably broke his arm. It doesn't tell you that he broke his arm, but it says, oh, he came out of the hospital with a cast on his arm. Any other inferences or any ideas on how you can connect what you just read with what you know? Michelle? Okay, so Michelle says that usually when you fall off your bike, you might get a few scratches or a few bumps on yourself. So that's what she tells me that she knows about riding your bike and when you fall off. What else do you know? Andrew? That he probably fell on his arm. How do you know that though? Yep, so then it tells us, okay? So what did we read? We saw that there was a bike involved, that he went to the hospital, and then he came out with a cast on his arm. It doesn't tell us what part on his body actually got hurt. But what we know from what we just read is that usually when you fall off, you're going to get a few scratches, maybe a few bumps. So that way we can infer and say that, hey, I infer that he probably broke his arm when he fell off his bike.
It's important to recognize the dynamic of this classroom. Here we have the students sitting on the chair and the students are on the floor. This establishes a power, but then it also makes them feel comfortable because she's still within the circle.